Imagine the familiar world around you descending into chaos, towering skyscrapers reduced to crumbling ruins, once thriving cities now eerily silent, and the steady rhythm of daily life disrupted by a relentless struggle for survival. This is the apocalyptic vision that has captivated the imagination of filmmakers and audiences for generations. But beyond the thrilling spectacles and dramatic narratives, apocalyptic movies delve deep into the essence of humanity, revealing profound insights about our nature, our instincts, and our capacity for resilience. These films strip away the veneer of civilization, exposing the raw, unfiltered core of what it means to be human. They force us to confront our deepest fears and highest hopes, challenging us to question our values, our beliefs, and our place in the world. Through the lens of apocalyptic storytelling, we gain a unique perspective on survival, desperation, and the human spirit's indomitable will to endure. Okay, so first things first, what does it mean to be human when society crumbles? In apocalyptic movies, the collapse of social order often leads to a regression to primal behaviors. Philosopher Thomas Hobbes described life in a state of nature as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. And boy, do these movies show that. But wait, it's not all doom and gloom. Some characters exhibit remarkable acts of kindness, solidarity, and sacrifice, proving that even in the direst circumstances, the core of humanity can shine through. This brings to mind Jean-Jacques Rousseau's concept of the noble savage, which suggests that humans are inherently good but corrupted by society. Apocalyptic settings often play out this dichotomy, showing us the best and worst of human nature. So, what's the takeaway here? These films force characters, and by extension us, to confront the fundamental question, what would we do to survive? How far would we go to protect our loved ones? This struggle raises profound questions about the nature of good and evil and the intrinsic qualities that define humanity. Now let's talk survival. Apocalyptic movies are like a crash course in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When society collapses, characters are thrust into the lower tiers of Maslow's pyramid where basic physiological and safety needs take precedence. The relentless pursuit of food, water, and shelter becomes a driving force, often leading to morally ambiguous decisions. Think about it. In these movies, characters often repurpose everyday objects into tools or weapons, demonstrating the human capacity for innovation and adaptation. This ingenuity is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. But here's the kicker. Survival instinct can also reveal the darker aspects of human nature. Friedrich Nietzsche famously stated, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." In the desperate struggle for survival, some characters may resort to violence, deceit, or betrayal, challenging our understanding of morality and ethics. This moral ambiguity underscores the complexity of human behavior and the difficult choices that must be made in extreme circumstances. Desperation is a powerful force in apocalyptic movies. It drives characters to take extreme actions, revealing the depths of human vulnerability and the lengths to which people will go when pushed to their limits. This exploration of desperation provides a stark commentary on the fragility of the human condition. Albert Camus, in his essay The Myth of Sisyphus, explores the concept of the absurd, the idea that life is inherently meaningless, but humans persist in seeking meaning. Apocalyptic movies often embody this existential struggle as characters grapple with the futility of their situation while striving to find purpose and hope. This tension between despair and the search for meaning highlights the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. Desperation can lead to both heroic and tragic outcomes. On one hand, it can inspire acts of courage and selflessness as characters put their own lives at risk to save others. On the other hand, it can drive individuals to acts of violence and cruelty as they prioritize their own survival above all else. This duality of human nature is a central theme in apocalyptic storytelling, providing a nuanced exploration of morality and ethics. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote extensively about finding meaning in the midst of suffering. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl argues that even in the most dire circumstances, individuals can find purpose and hope. Apocalyptic movies often reflect this philosophy, portraying characters who, despite their desperation, seek to preserve their humanity. Despite the often grim and bleak settings of apocalyptic movies, many of these films contain powerful messages of hope and redemption. They remind us that even in the darkest times, there is potential for renewal and the rebuilding of a better world. Hope is a recurring theme in apocalyptic storytelling. Nietzsche famously said, "Hope in reality is the worst of all evils, because it prolongs the torments of man." Yet, in the context of apocalyptic movies, hope often serves as a lifeline, providing characters with the strength to persevere and the motivation to rebuild. Carl Rogers emphasized the importance of self-actualization and the human potential for growth. Apocalyptic movies often portray characters who, despite their dire circumstances, strive to become better versions of themselves. This journey of self-discovery and growth is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. Redemption is another powerful theme in apocalyptic storytelling. Characters who may have committed morally questionable acts in the past are given the opportunity to atone for their actions and find redemption. This theme resonates with the idea of the hero's journey, as outlined by mythologist Joseph Campbell. The hero's journey involves a process of transformation and self-discovery, culminating in the character's redemption and return to society with newfound wisdom and strength. Apocalyptic movies also offer a platform to explore a wide range of philosophical and sociopolitical ideas. These films can serve as allegories for real-world issues, providing a lens through which we can examine our own society and its potential future. Philosopher Michel Foucault's concept of biopower, the regulation of populations through various forms of control and surveillance, can be seen in many apocalyptic narratives. These films often depict dystopian societies where authoritarian regimes exert control over the survivors, raising important questions about power, autonomy, and resistance. Hannah Arendt's exploration of totalitarianism and the banality of evil also finds resonance in apocalyptic storytelling. These films often depict ordinary individuals who become complicit in oppressive systems, highlighting the ease with which people can be drawn into acts of cruelty and violence. The socio-political themes in apocalyptic movies are not limited to authoritarianism and power. Environmental degradation, resource scarcity, and social inequality are common motifs that reflect contemporary concerns about the sustainability and equity of our world. These films challenge us to consider the long-term consequences of our actions and the potential for systemic change. Apocalyptic movies provide rich material for exploring psychological concepts and the human mind's response to extreme stress and trauma. Apocalyptic scenarios have a way of stripping us down to our core, revealing our true nature and sometimes leading to profound change. Take Max Rokitansky from Mad Max Fury Road, for instance. Max starts as a solitary, haunted figure, driven solely by the need to survive in a brutal wasteland. His traumatic past has left him distrustful and isolated, a shadow of his former self. Yet, through his journey with Furiosa and the escaping women, he finds a purpose beyond mere survival. Max's transformation begins as he reluctantly teams up with Furiosa and the women fleeing from the tyrannical Immortan Joe. Initially, his actions are driven by self-preservation, but as he spends more time with them, a bond forms. Max transitions from a self-centered drifter to a protector and ally, rediscovering his humanity and compassion. His journey is marked by acts of bravery and selflessness, ultimately leading him to sacrifice his own safety for the greater good. This transformation is a testament to the human spirit's resilience and capacity for growth, even in the direst circumstances.
Max. My name is Max. That's my name.
On the flip side, we have Negan from The Walking Dead. Initially, Negan is a high school gym teacher and a loving husband to his wife, Lucille. His life takes a dark turn when Lucille is diagnosed with terminal cancer, and shortly after her death, the zombie apocalypse begins. The chaos and loss drive Negan to embrace a philosophy of fear and dominance. He becomes the ruthless leader of the Saviors, using brutal methods to maintain control. His weapon of choice, a barbed wire-wrapped baseball bat named Lucille, symbolizes his descent into cruelty. Negan's transformation is stark. He goes from being a man defined by love and compassion to one who uses violence and intimidation to assert power. The apocalypse amplifies his darker instincts, justifying his actions as necessary for survival. While Negan does show signs of change and remorse later in the series, his initial descent into brutality highlights how extreme circumstances can bring out the worst in people.
Dun 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 dun. Little pig, let me in.
So why does Max change for the better while Negan changes for the worse? It boils down to their responses to trauma and loss. Max, despite his past, chooses to connect and protect, finding redemption through selfless actions. Negan, however, allows his pain to justify his brutality, losing his moral compass in the process. Max's encounters push him to rediscover his humanity, whereas Negan's experiences solidify his belief in fear and dominance as survival tools. Negan's story, meanwhile, serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of letting our inner demons take control. His initial response to the apocalypse is to abandon his moral principles, using the chaos as a justification for his actions. It's a powerful reminder of how trauma and loss can shape our behavior, for better or worse. In contrasting these two characters, we see a powerful narrative about human potential. The apocalypse, it seems, is not just a test of survival, but a crucible for the human soul. Through Max and Negan, we explore the depths of human nature and the choices that define us. Max's redemption and Negan's descent illustrate the duality of our responses to extreme adversity, offering profound insights into the human condition. Imagine stepping into a world where the rules of society have crumbled, and survival hinges on your every decision. This is the allure of apocalyptic games like the Last of Us series, Fallout series, and Resident Evil series. These games immerse players in a vicarious experience of living through an apocalypse, engaging our psychology in profound and multifaceted ways. The Last of Us draws us in with its emotionally charged narrative. At its heart, the series is about the bond between Joel, a hardened survivor, and Ellie, a resilient teenager. Their relationship evolves from one of mutual necessity to a deep, almost familial bond.
I'm okay.
Then get out, quick. Come here. Shit.
This connection taps into our deep psychological need for attachment and security, something psychologist John Bowlby emphasized as critical for emotional health. Through Joel and Ellie, we explore themes of love, loss, and sacrifice, forcing us to confront our own ethical boundaries. Contrast this with Fallout, which is as much about exploration and autonomy as it is about survival. Players navigate vast, desolate wastelands, scavenging for resources and interacting with diverse factions, each with its own ideologies and moral codes. The transition from the controlled environment of a vault to the unpredictable wasteland symbolizes a journey from dependence to autonomy, reflecting Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. This freedom to make choices, good or bad, mirrors our real-life desire for autonomy and self-determination, providing a stark contrast to the more emotionally driven The Last of Us.
Aqui.
Resident Evil, on the other hand, plunges players into a world overrun by zombies and other bioengineered horrors. Unlike the more contemplative apocalypses of The Last of Us and Fallout, Resident Evil is a visceral, adrenaline-pumping experience that plays directly on our primal fears. Psychologist Carl Jung's concept of the shadow self, the unconscious part of our personality that contains our darkest fears and desires, is vividly brought to life in Resident Evil. The grotesque creatures and terrifying scenarios force players to confront their shadow selves, engaging with parts of their psyche that are usually repressed. While The Last of Us makes us ponder our ethical choices and emotional connections, Fallout allows us to explore the consequences of autonomy and moral ambiguity in a desolate world. In contrast, Resident Evil keeps us on edge with its constant threats, engaging the fight-or-flight response. The tension and sudden scares simulate this physiological reaction, engaging the amygdala, the brain region responsible for processing emotions, particularly fear. These games also differ in how they engage us with their settings. The Last of Us presents a post-apocalyptic world rich with detail, where every abandoned building and overgrown street tells a story of lost lives and broken dreams. This attention to environmental storytelling adds depth to the emotional journey of the characters. In Fallout, the wasteland is filled with remnants of the old world, ruined buildings, pre-war relics, and decaying infrastructure. This stark contrast between past and present evokes a sense of melancholy and prompts reflection on the impermanence of civilization. In Resident Evil, the settings are claustrophobic and oppressive, enhancing the sense of dread and fear. The game's environments, whether it's a haunted mansion or a zombie-infested city, are designed to keep players constantly on edge. This immersive fear engages players on a primal level, reminding us of how deeply wired our survival instincts are. Despite these differences, all three series share a common thread. They allow players to vicariously experience life in a world where the rules of civilization have broken down. This immersion provides a safe space to explore complex psychological themes and emotional responses. Carl Rogers noted, "The only person who is educated is the one who has learned how to learn and change." These games educate us by challenging our perceptions, testing our moral boundaries, and engaging our survival instincts. Interestingly, The Last of Us has been praised for its realistic portrayal of human emotions and relationships, leading to academic studies on its psychological impact.
There you go.
Fuck.
Oh, shit!
Come on.
Just get the horse.
All right.
The Fallout series has inspired discussions on autonomy and morality, with some players even applying the game's ethical dilemmas to real-life scenarios.
Mutually assured destruction, aptly shortened to MAD, is a method of passive warfare that basically means you kill me, I kill you. It described the relationship between the United States and the USSR during the Cold War, when there were far too many nuclear weapons on our planet, and the best way we could think of to keep ourselves from killing one another was to say, hey, don't launch nukes at me and I won't launch any at you. Thankfully, this ridiculous stance on international politics mostly dissipated, though personally I always kind of had the impression that it never fully left the table.
Resident Evil is renowned for its ability to elicit genuine fear, making it a subject of study in understanding how media can influence emotional and psychological states.
This means that always in your mind is both an unknown bit of information and something that can control where you go, while still letting you play the game normally when they're not around. This cycle of tension, then relief, then a raising of the stakes, also exists at a much larger scale, repeating several times as you progress through any given area.
However, it's essential to recognize how unrealistic these scenarios actually are.
Damn it.
Come on! It's not cutting!
Just hurry. Maybe they'll either get
For instance, the idea that most survivors in these games are ex-military personnel, former police officers, or scientists with survival training is a common trope. In reality, most people lack the skills to build shelters from scratch, forage for food, or defend themselves against constant threats.
Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker, Resident Evil.
Scavenging in a real post-apocalyptic world would be far more challenging than depicted. According to urban survival expert David Canterbury, even basic survival skills take years to master, and the resources depicted in these games would likely be scarce or non-existent in real-life scenarios.
Get inside it, pull it over, and I'll be 100% protected from the sand.
Moreover, the idea of rebuilding society or creating functional settlements, as seen in games like Fallout, is highly idealized. Sociologist Eric Klinenberg points out that maintaining social cohesion and rebuilding infrastructure require extensive resources, organizational skills, and time, luxuries that would be in short supply after a major societal collapse. The ease with which characters in these games navigate their environments and form alliances oversimplifies the complexities of human behavior in crisis situations. One fascinating fact about Fallout is that it was inspired by 1950s nuclear paranoia, reflecting cultural anxieties of the time. The Last of Us uses a real-world fungus, cordyceps, which infects insects, as the basis for its fictional pandemic, adding a layer of eerie plausibility. Resident Evil was initially influenced by the horror film Night of the Living Dead, showing how cross-media influences shape our apocalyptic narratives.
Probably be a lot more of them as soon as they find out about us.
Albert Einstein once said, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." Pretty uplifting, right? Einstein's prediction underscores the sheer devastation that nuclear conflict would bring. Imagine this: a major city is reduced to radioactive rubble within minutes. Survivors are dealing with severe radiation sickness, no medical care, and a complete collapse of societal order. Infrastructure? Gone. Millions without shelter, clean water, or food. Psychological impact? Enormous. It's like trying to play Fallout, but without the respawn button. And then there's the long-term fun of a nuclear winter, which would drastically lower global temperatures, cripple agriculture, and lead to mass starvation. Essentially, humanity would be back to scavenging for resources and defending against each other in a Mad Max-style wasteland. If this narrative resonated with you, do support us. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Thank you for staying with us to the end. See you in the next video on Plaid Chronicles.